We have a special guest with us this morning, and I want to give way that he might come and bring greetings unto us. I kind of looked a little bit yesterday to learn something about this brother who is king of the country in which he is from. He's following a tradition in his family. I believe his uncle was the king. His father was to be the king, and he passed. The uncle was the king, and they kind of compelled this gentleman to come and to take over that rightful place in Africa. I believe it's in Nigeria, and in the country in which he serves and which he is from. I do know he spent time here in the United States, in New York City of all places, amen, and just not wanting to necessarily have all that responsibility of running a country in which you came from, in which you grew up, but yet was compelled by God to make that move. And then I saw something very interesting to me. He was a wrestler. And it was kind of interesting to me that, how does the wrestler and the king combination and the bus driver combination come together? And then God said, this is how it comes together. When you want to drive where you need to get and get people where they need to go, sometimes you got to wrestle with some folk in order to get there. And so when I read that and saw that, I said, to God be the glory. And so, King James, would you come and bring greetings unto us? Thank you for being with us.
Oh my God. Thank you so very much. Good morning, church. My name is King James Oladipo Buremoh. I am privileged enough to have met a very wonderful young man, A.J. Johnson, and his wife. His wife is Nigerian, of course. He married one of my daughters, So that makes him my brother or my son, right? And I'm honored for him to have brought me to visit with this congregation this morning. And I'm grateful because as soon as I entered, all I could see was the teeth out. Everybody's smiling, welcoming me with, open arms. Thank you so very much. My name, just like I said, is James Oladipo Buremoh, the grandson of an idol worshiper who was converted into Christianity in the 1800s. And he was one of the people that makes these figurines that our people worship in those days, in the olden days. And, when the the missionaries came, they decided they wanted to get, hook on the head. Once you get the head, the whole body follows. Because where, he was making his stuff, people usually go there in the evenings, sit around him, and then they gather and they drink palm wine and all that. So when the missionaries came, they convinced him. They converted him to Christianity. How did they do that? They brought Psalm 115. They have eyes they can't see, nose they can't breathe, ears they can't hear, mouth they cannot talk. He who makes them is just like them. They told him, wait a minute, these figurines that these people are worshiping, you make them, right? Well, they're worshiping you. So why don't you come and worship the being that you can't see? And that was how they converted him to Christianity. They took him to a seminary, turned him into a pastor, and then brought him back to his community. He started a church, he started a school, and then he became an evangelist. He started going all over to evangelize. They changed his name from Buremoh to Abraham, and which means the same, Pastor Abraham Buremoh. And he ruled for 7 years until he passed on. He passed on, and he told them after he was gone, they should allow my uncle, which was the son of his friend, to take over the leadership, which they did. And everything, started going well. Until the people that he's, settled down with, because they moved from the top of the mountain where they used to live, because everybody lived on the top of the mountains in the 1800s during the time of the marauders usually come and kidnap people and sell them into slavery. They want to be on top of the hill so they can see them coming from down, so that they can attack them, so that they won't be able to get them. So my grandfather, because of the topography, he decided that evangelism was going to be a little difficult for him going up and down the mountain. So he came down and settled on a flat ground with a lot of people that he had converted. He brought his friend and his family with him. Unfortunately, after he passed on, just like it happened with the Israelites, actually, they settled there in April 1948. If you remember, the same month, the state of Israel was, formed in 1948. And the same thing that happened to the Israelites happened to us. Because the Israelites, God told them, take off. I'm going to take you to the promised land. They got halfway, and they decided, wait a minute. What are you doing with us? We're going to, look for somebody else. So they started, paganism, and God punished them for all those years. Well, after my grandfather died, my uncle that took over the realm of leadership and the people that followed him decided they wanted to go back to idolatry. And everything just went haywire. The whole community, the whole kingdom just started going backwards. Everything that had been built, it became retrogressive. And everything was just terrible. He ruled for 33 years. All that time, I came to the U.S. in 1977. I was the baby of 9 children. My father had 9 kids. But then, I realized then that they favored me. I didn't know why. But then I come to find out much later. My brothers didn't like me at all. I'm 7 boys, but I'm the baby of 7 boys. I didn't know why they didn't like me, but I knew my parents favored me. Then I ran away. That was when I came to the U.S. to go to school. I attended Columbus College in Georgia. I finished there. I went to Houston. I worked for a year in Shell Oil Company. And then I got into professional wrestling. I wrestled with Mid-South. I wrestled with Wild West Wrestling. And then I started wrestling with WCW. If you Google Ladi, the African Tiger, that was my wrestling name. If you remember Kamala way back then, Junkyard Dog, Hacksaw Jim Dugan, Butch Reed, that was during my era. I wrestled with all those guys. But then, what I was going to bring out of this is God used that to sort of keep me away because of what he wanted to use me for. I suffered a broken neck in 1989, and that was what stopped my wrestling career. So I got well. I went back home. My father saw me, and he was like, wait a minute, who are you? I said, well, this is your son. He said, no, my son is gone. Remember the story of Joseph in the Bible? When I left Nigeria, I met one of my brothers here in the U.S. He graduated from MIT, and he worked at Dolly Madison in Columbus, Georgia. But then his wife didn't like me at all, because I found out a lot of her secrets that she didn't want me to find out. And I told my brother, but my brother didn't believe me. At the end of the day, she arranged with a friend of hers to come and, befriend me, and that was a taboo. In our culture, you do not have a girlfriend until you have achieved whatever you want to achieve. So I befriended Deborah. Eventually, Deborah called me and told me, Ladi, you are going to be sent back to Nigeria. I told her, I said, why? Because my brother was my guarantor in school while I was going to Columbus College with the embassy. So she said, If you don't do that, in the next 3 months, you will be back in Nigeria. So I said, what can I do? She said, let's get married. I'm like, get married? So I listened, we married. Would you believe that 3 weeks later, I received a letter from the American consulate that my guarantor has decided he wasn't going to guarantee me anymore, that I should go back, I would be deported to Nigeria. By then, I already had my certificate. So I went to my brother. I said, my brother, why did you do this? Why did you do this? He said, well, because, I mean, you want to destroy my marriage with my wife. So, and I don't want that to happen. So I said, well, I was already married. So I went to the consulate and told them I was married. So they told me to stay. But guess what? That wife left him with everything he had. They had a joint account. She was in charge of the finances. The house mortgage, she didn't pay for 6 months. The car note, she didn't pay for 6 months. Everything she didn't pay for 6 months. And she left him with a 6-month-old baby that they had. And he had to go back to Nigeria. But the moral of the story is the same thing that happened with Joseph in the Bible happened with me. When I now got back to Nigeria, my father was like, no, I have been told that Ladi said he was never coming back to Nigeria again. That was what my brother told them when he got back home. I said, Dad, no, that wasn't what happened. This is me. But then he sees me as this huge person, Then, on the 26th of May, 1994, he now called me and told me that he wanted to give me a message that nobody else knew. I said, why? He said, you are going to be the next king. I said, no, Dad. What are you talking about? In our culture, it's the eldest son that takes over, not the youngest. He said, you were a reincarnation of your grandfather. I said, what are you talking about? He said, he wants to come back to finish the job he started. If you look at me, I'm just a spitting image of my grandfather. And, as fate will have it, I told him, I said, well, I don't do anything. They didn't run me away from America. I'm an American citizen, so I'll run away. In 1999, I ran back to the U.S. I went to New York. I started driving a bus, a double-decker bus, and so I can have proximity to Nigeria, to my family. Well, my father died. I didn't go home. 4 years later, they said we should come so that we can do the rites for my father and my mother. I got home 6 days before I arrived. My uncle, who was the king, passed away. What I ran away from for more than 4 years happened 6 days before I arrived. As soon as I arrived, the people in the community said, it's you. You have to be king. And I told them, I said, This is a Herculean task that you cannot put on my neck, because you can imagine being a father to 16,000 people. It wasn't me. But then when we prayed about it, God said, I want to use you as a beacon of light over that community. The glory that their community has before they went back to paganism, I want to return it. And I'm going to use you for it. I didn't have a choice. I accepted. I thank God. 18 years. It was 18 years this year. And I thank God for what he has done. Whatever I made in New York driving the bus, I took it home, used it to develop my community, because then there was nothing. They didn't have any drinking water, no light, no road, nothing. But with the help of God, give them light, give them water, potable water. I started building a school, the hospital. I started building a dispensary with the help of my friends, because while I was here, my friends here in New York, I titled some of them, it made them honorary chiefs. And then they started helping me out with the community. So now, just like our Reverend just said, if you don't have education, you are nothing in this day and age. Our children out there, they don't have good, we don't have good schools. They don't even know anything about computers. Some of them don't even have phones. And if you're not computer literate nowadays, forget about it. A lot of the children go to college, they come out, no jobs. So I decided to start a vocational training center for the youth because they are our future. And then I have already decided to start a computer-based training center also for the children. That I started that just early this year before I came back, and we're looking to, do the construction, buy all the equipment and all that. So I have decided to talk to my friends, and a lot of them have agreed that they were going to help me. And my good friend here decided, hey, why don't we go and talk to the people of God? Out of generosity of their heart, they might be able to want to pitch in. So that's why, one of the reasons why we're here this morning, whatever it is anybody can do to assist us, we'll be great, very, very grateful. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate everything you've done. Thank you, Reverend, for having me.